the autopsy, the post-mortem has confirmed that Cilla Black died of natural causes. Now, it's revealed that he died of a stroke after, they say, falling, hitting her head.
They believe she fell and hit her head, but the cause of death was a stroke. It's a little bit confusing because we've got Dr. Dawn here this morning. So can a fall, this is what we're all asking this morning, can a fall cause a stroke?
Right, I think there are two possible scenarios here. Either she had a bleed in the brain, which is a form of stroke, and it's a much less common form of stroke, and that made her lose her balance and fall. And we can tell where that is by where the bleeding is, that's within the brain tissue. Or she may have had a fall, maybe she got up suddenly in the heat, went dizzy, fell, and hit her head, and it was the trauma itself that caused a bleed, probably below the membrane that covers the brain, and that causes a shearing of the blood vessels. The good thing, which has been said, I know, repeatedly, is that either scenario would have meant that it would have been very, very quick, and she wouldn't have known much about it at all.
Well, that's some comfort for her family, I suppose, isn't it?
Why do strokes happen?
OK, so let's go back to strokes. Most strokes, 85% of strokes, are due to a blood clot on the brain. So anything that disrupts the blood supply and therefore the oxygen supply to the brain can cause a stroke. The vast majority are caused by a blood clot. That is not the case with Cilla, we know that. We're talking about a bleed. Now, about 15% of strokes can be caused by a bleed. Often that might be maybe you've got a weakening in a blood vessel and it spontaneously bursts. When you're looking at somebody who's had a stroke, you can't tell the difference. There is no way of knowing, just by looking at someone, whether the stroke was from a bleed or from a blood clot. We know that the vast majority of blood clots. But what we do when you come into hospital, and time is really of the essence, is that we scan you, and then we can tell straight away, because if it's a blood clot, then we give you blood-thinning agents to try and break that clot up. If it's a bleed, we look to see whether there's an operation we can do.
You said their speed is of the essence, and this fast is a way for all of us to remember what to look for and to know that somebody's had a stroke. And so you wanted to remind people today.
I do, really. It's a very simple acronym. Yeah. FAST, face. If somebody suddenly has a drooping to one side of their face, that might be a stroke. Look at their arms, ask them to put their arms up. If somebody's having a stroke, they might find that you can't lift one arm, it's weak. Speech, are they slurring their speech? Have they suddenly gone very slurred for no particular reason? And the big one, time. If there is any doubt whatsoever, dial 999, because, as I say, the vast majority, if it is a stroke, will be down to a blood clot, and the sooner we get you into hospital and we can get the scan, confirm the diagnosis, and give you blood-thinning drugs, the better the outlook.
Is there any warning for the person having a stroke? Do you start to feel anything that you might know it's about to happen?
Very often it just happens out of the blue, and you'll be aware that you might be slurring your speech, or you'll be aware that your arm doesn't work, but that is the stroke happening. For some people, they have something called a TIA, maybe days, weeks or months before. That's a transient ischemic attack. It presents exactly the same as a stroke, but by definition it resolves completely within 24 hours. Even though you are completely well very quickly afterwards, it is absolutely vital that you tell your doctor, because that can be the warning shot across your back.
You hear people say a mini stroke.
It's when people say, oh, she had a wee turn, or I've had a wee turn. I hear older people saying that quite often. That's really...
If in doubt, get it checked out, because, yes, the mini stroke, you might feel completely well, but it does significantly increase your risk of a stroke later on.